energy and waste heat. My name is Carol Werner. I'm the Executive Director for the Environmental and Energy Study Institute, and we are so glad to welcome you to this briefing this afternoon. Now, the topic is one that is very near and dear to my heart because I have known about district energy and combined heat and power for longer than I care to think about, actually. So we won't talk about that part. But it is really, I think, a very, very important story in terms of an energy resource that is readily available, not broadly appreciated the way it should be. It is actually very, very cool, and that aspect has not been well understood or, again, appreciated the way it should be. We are going to hear from a panel of folks this afternoon who have been working in this field for a long time. So you're going to learn a lot more about district energy, what that means, about CHP or combined heat and power, why it makes so much sense, and it allows us to do a whole lot of things all at the same time in terms of everything from improved economic development, keeping more energy dollars local, tapping local resources, greatly improving the efficiency of how we generate electricity, that there is that opportunity. It enables us to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, to reduce other criteria air pollutants because we are using our energy sources much more readily. It acknowledges and takes advantage of the fact that so much of the energy that we consume in this country is consumed in our buildings. I am informed that instead of 30%, which I have been saying, that it's 31% of our building use is connected to thermal energy. And therefore, in this country, when we think about all of the energy that is wasted when we generate power in this country, we waste about 2/3 of all of the energy that when we generate power in terms of conventional power production, in terms of fossil-fired energy generation, power generation. Because most of that is then waste heat that is vented into the air, into streams, into lakes. We can capture that and use that to provide energy for buildings, whether they are campuses in terms of universities, hospitals, downtowns, commercial shopping centers, industrial complexes, what have you. And it is really, I think, almost a crime to just waste that when we could capture it, when it can have real value. Another thing that has happened over the years, as we have tried to move forward in the Congress looking at energy policy, we found that our energy policy has been so focused on dealing with electricity and in terms of dealing with fuels that we have kind of forgot that there is this whole area of thermal that is so important, and that it needs to be recognized in energy policy too, because otherwise we have a huge gap and we're really not looking at the whole issue in a holistic way, in a way that really makes good economic sense and makes good sense for our environment. And so today we're really going to be addressing that. It's really important as the Congress thinks about energy policy to make sure that we really understand and are thinking about the whole role of thermal in our energy economy. So to start us off today, I want to turn to Rob Thornton, who is the president of the International District Energy Association. They are doing extremely valuable and fascinating work, and you will hear a lot more from him and then from our other speakers who will follow.
Thanks, Carol. Thank you very much, Carol. My name is Rob Thornton. I'm the president of the International District Energy Association. So I'm the lead-off batter. I hope to get us all on base talking about district energy. I want to explain what it is, how it works, where it is, some policies in Europe that we might learn something from, and some cases here in the US I think that will also shed some light. Then I'm going to turn it over to Ken Smith, who's the president and CEO of District Energy St. Paul, one of the world's leading renewable district energy systems, right here in the Twin Cities. Ken will then be followed by Mark Spurr. He's the legislative director of IDEA, and also is president of a consulting firm, also based in the Twin Cities. He'll talk to you about the Thermal Renewable Energy Efficiency Act, TREA, which is some legislation we have in the works. And then Neil Elliott with American Council of Energy Efficient Economy, ACEEE, will try to kind of bring this all back together and share some, why does thermal energy really matter in terms of policy. So just a bit on IDEA. We were formed in 1909, so we've been around for 101 years. We're a 501c6 organization based outside of Boston. We have about 1,200 members worldwide. Most of them are here in North America. And more than half operate district energy systems, including the Capital Power Plant that supplies the steam and chilled water to this whole complex, is one of our members. And most public and private universities, those of you who went to college here in the States, I'm willing to bet you lived in a dorm that was heated by a power plant on campus. I'm willing to bet. I'll take some bets later. So what is district energy? It's really quite simple. It's a central plant that produces steam or chilled water. I don't want to hit you in the eye. And then there's underground pipes that supply the thermal energy to the buildings that are connected on a grid, a thermal piping grid. And it's really quite ubiquitous. These systems are in every major city here in the US. As I mentioned, most colleges, universities, airports, healthcare, research campuses, military bases. It's really quite prominent. They are central plants. They're built in cities and on campuses. And generally, they're fairly nondescript. They're not big, monolithic, smokestack belching assets. Most of the time, they blend right into the architecture. But when you think about district energy, I want you to think of it as an infrastructure that aggregates the heating and cooling needs of all the buildings in the community. And in doing that, it creates a scale, a collective use of thermal energy that then creates opportunities for cleaner solutions like biomass, like landfill gas, that would not, frankly, be economically viable on a building-by-building basis. So by aggregating the heating and cooling needs of dozens or hundreds or even thousands of buildings, we create scale that makes cleaner solutions economically viable. That's the key takeaway. But why you don't know about us is because we're underground. We're not a windmill spinning on the horizon. We're not a gleaming blue PV panel. We're really, we're like the Rodney Dangerfield of energy. We get little respect because we're not often seen. And sometimes if you operate one of these businesses, that's where you want to be. You don't want to be recognized. You want to be kind of quiet, efficient, and productive. But essentially, when you think about us, there are these pipes underground, and those deliver real value in the communities where they exist. This is a little bit of the 101. How does this work? It's really quite simple. We produce heat, and it's delivered to a building. In this case, let's talk about cooling. So we produce chilled water. It goes into a building at 34 degrees or 38 degrees, and energy always flows downhill. Hot always goes to cold. So when we bring cold into a building, we absorb the heat. The heat flows to us. It's like gravity. And what happens, we just take the heat out of the building, and it goes back into the pipes and back to the plant. All we're doing is taking heat out of the buildings. How we produce that cooling, that's a longer story. I won't